It's been a very messy few weeks for coalition politics in the country. The City of Johannesburg has a new mayor after coalition collapse, and a motion of no confidence is also on the cards in Ekurhuleni. So with the municipal governments under coalition agreements being so unstable, what does this mean for 2024, where there is a huge possibility of a national coalition having to be made? Newzroom Afrika's Andersen brings us this report.
Coalition politics keeps being described as the future of South African governance. With the ANC shedding votes heavily with each election, many political analysts and opposition politicians now believe that there's a strong likelihood of the ANC dropping below the crucial 50% plus one mark in 2024. If that were the case, that means a coalition national government would be installed. But with infighting and frequent coalition collapses in Nelson Mandela Bay, Johannesburg and other metros, would a national coalition be able to stick together? Or better yet, will it be able to stop the fights to deliver services to the people? So let's take a look back at who got what during the last general election in 2019. The ANC obtained just over 10 million votes, about 57.5%. Despite the DA being the largest opposition party, it pulled in over 6 million less votes than the ANC. That saw the party achieve just over 20% of the vote, while the IFP and Freedom Front Plus brought in 3% and 2% respectively. With issues such as load shedding and the economy having worsened, can the ANC get over 50% again? Dr. Ntsikelelo Breakfast is not so sure.
One-party dominance is a thing of the past. I think coalition formations are the future. But the challenge is that when one examines coalition formations covering the period of 2016 until to date, they've been unworkable, and unstable, largely because the political elite have a tendency to rush into forming these coalition formations without developing a conflict management mechanism.
The DA says the problems with coalitions come down to the current electoral laws in the country.
We cannot afford to replace a failing ANC government, whether at a national, provincial or local level, with unstable, cumbersome coalitions. If coalitions are going to be the future in South Africa, then Parliament needs to take the necessary legislative steps to ensure that they are stable and are able to deliver. Many other countries have done this and are governed by successful, stable coalitions that deliver on a national level.
This week, DA Federal Council Chair Helen Zille penned an article calling for an increased electoral threshold. Zille cited that while many European countries have a 2 or 5% threshold in order for a party to win a seat, here at home, a much smaller proportion of votes can still hand even the smallest party a seat in the council. Zille points out how if SA had higher thresholds, the new coalition led by the DA in Nelson Mandela Bay, that consists of 10 different political parties, would instead only have about 3 at most. After initially abstaining from voting for or with the ANC in any of the Gauteng metros, the EFF and ANC now seem to have reached a deal. Both parties have openly been in lengthy negotiations over the last few months. And according to Dr. Breakfast, the EFF's new willingness to side with the ANC could have big implications for 2024.
The EFF has had a change of heart in terms of its outlook in relation to the ANC, and it's a very interesting change of heart. It's an interesting phenomenon. I'll tell you why, because after the elections, they said that they won't work side by side with the ANC. All of a sudden now, they have joined forces with the ANC. But this gravitation, it tends to be along the lines of factionalism.
While there is a long way to go and plenty of politicking still to take place, Breakfast says while the ANC is likely to drop below 50% in 2024, the party might cling to a majority due to votes being split by the growing number of opposition parties. For Newzroom Afrika on Channel 405, I'm Andersen in Johannesburg.